box, all for just $50 a month with a 2-year internet rate guarantee and no annual contract when you add Xfinity Mobile. Switch today.
Join us to Golf for Good, Friday, September 16th at Brown Acres. Enjoy a round of golf, lunch, and more, all to help raise funds for volunteers in medicine and Project Access. Golf for Good. Register now at VIMchat.org.
We all love living here in the Tennessee Valley, but you know quite well, I'm sure, that you can't have a thriving business community and society here in our own hometown if our schools aren't thriving. So we're so happy this morning to have the new Executive Director of Unifi-Ed, Kendra Young, on the show, talking about kind of her vision now as she's taking the helm at the organization. Good to see you.
Thank you so much.
I think first crack out of the gate, I would like people to know that you are a 20-year teacher. Is that right?
I am almost 20 years. I left in May when I accepted this position over the summer, and so I tell everyone I did not know when I was packing my classroom in May for the summer that I was packing it for the last time. It happened over the summer.
What did you teach?
I taught 8th grade science.
Okay.
At East Hamilton Middle was my last position.
Once upon a time when my older daughter was little, I had gone to get my master's. I wanted to teach middle and high school English, and I thought how great it would be to teach 8th graders because they're right on that cusp where you can still grab them.
Yes.
They're not totally...
They were my favorite humans. They were just mature enough that you could reason with them and have really deep, meaningful conversations with them, but still childlike enough that you didn't, want to...
And they needed you.
Scream too often, yeah.
They needed you.
Yeah,
so that
great.
whole idea of they needed you,
yes.
I'll just kind of segue into that. The truth is all kids do. Seniors in high school are still just kids.
Oh, they are.
They need an advocate, their parents need an advocate, and we, the community, need for them to emerge strong. So that's kind of what Unifi-Ed is trying to do, as I understand it. You want to hear from everybody.
Yes. Yes, we are known as being a political organization, which we are. We do not shy away from that. But we are not partisan. We do not care which side of the aisle anyone sits on. You can sit in the middle of the aisle for all we care. But we are concerned with our schools, with our teachers, with our students, with their families and the communities that they serve, and how our public schools are playing the important role that they play in our community. We're of the opinion that our schools are the backbone of our community. We cannot attract businesses without strong public schools. Our economy is stronger when our schools are supported. Your property values are influenced by the value that your public schools bring to your neighborhood.
Right. One of the things that I think is very interesting in our conversation that we've had off camera that I've learned so far is that you are wanting to hear from the students themselves.
Yes.
That's going to, I don't know if that's a new thing or not, but that's going to make them feel like they have a vested interest here.
We have always had the student voice team, as far as I know, going back in Unifi-Ed's history, but we are looking at ways to expand that to every school in Hamilton County. That is, Blair Ryan is our program director, and she is phenomenal, and she's looking to pull in students. We have a team of about 9 to 11 students right now, and we're looking for 1 to 2 representatives from every school in Hamilton County on our student voice team.
So you've got this campaign called I'm In.
Yes.
How does that work?
So the I'm In campaign, if you go to our website, which is unifi-ed.org, and it's right there in the middle of the page, right when you come on to the web page. It's an open letter to local politicians and even state level politicians that basically says, I'm in for every student. I am supporting every student. Doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. Our students need our support. We need proper facilities. We don't need roofs collapsing in on students. We need strong teachers in every classroom. We need appropriate and state standard driven curriculum materials in every classroom. And that requires ongoing support for our public schools.
Okay, I'm just talking off the cuff here.
Sure.
So you said state standard driven. I have a feeling for a lot of parents, and I'm sure you heard this as a classroom teacher, those are buzzwords that sometimes just bring a lot of emotion out in people because I think a lot of us feel like there's this drive to the standard.
There is.
And where's the individual child?
That is a conversation, I'm so glad you brought that up. That's a conversation that teachers have been having for a very long time. When state standards first emerged and standardized testing, when you and I probably went to school, I think it was the CAT test or the CAT, the California. Remember that test? It took about a day out of our time, and it was over.
Right.
Our teachers got our scores, and they adjusted their instruction, and life went on. It's not like that anymore. Your child's state standardized tests take about 2 weeks.
Why? Because that's what the state has said.
That's the way they're written.
So
they're
is
written.
that part of what you're hoping, is that, let's say you've got these representatives, and if parents were to write in and say, I don't like this, and the teachers, that then you could present that to our politicians who on the state level could lobby?
Absolutely.
That's the idea.
That is the idea, absolutely.
So when you say you're a political organization,
That's what we mean.
You're trying to do this through the political process.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You talk about the buildings and the state of the buildings. I think a lot of people would be surprised to really see what some of these schools can look like.
Yes, and the thing is it's not just Hamilton County. These problems are affecting every county in the state of Tennessee. And most people are shocked to learn that when you look at state level funding in the state of Tennessee, we are 47th out of 50.
In terms of funding?
In terms of funding. 47th out of 50. And I'm going to quote a colleague here, another teacher, who said, if the Tennessee Vols were 47th in the nation, people would be having a fit. So why is it okay for our schools?
Okay, I have a high school student, and she has seen some changes in her school. She's embracing them, and it's fine, with the whole world we live in now and the gun violence and the safety concern. And every school is tasked with making their kids as safe as possible. And the students, I think, understand that. And yet, I think there can be a feeling that they often have that the safety is so paramount that they're feeling just kind of imprisoned sometimes. Do you hear that?
I think that that's a very fair assessment. And I like to have these conversations with people in the community because, again, you and I go into school, we went through tornado drills and things like that. And I think there's a huge misconception in the community that active shooter drills and things like that are a lot like the tornado drills that we used to have. They are absolutely nothing alike. I remember my first active shooter drill was at East Lake Academy. I was a first-year teacher, and I remember sitting in the closet with those kids, and I almost quit my job that day.
Wow.
Because that was the first time I had to sit there surrounded by 30 kids going, my God, what would I do if something actually happened?
And
it's nothing like, we watch kids cry, we watch kids have panic attacks when these drills go on.
Right.
It happens. It is nothing like a tornado drill was for our generation.
And you would have been with middle school students, right? So you think about the elementary ones, what they must feel. So again, it's going to have to be that conversation, I guess, where is what you're hoping to do, maybe, Kendra, is to create a safe place where people can talk and not feel judged?
Yes, and I think I'm glad you brought that up as well, because again, we have so much conflict in our community right now, especially around political type discussions and policy discussions. We have forgotten where we agree. Again, like I said, we don't care which side of the aisle you sit on, or even if you sit in the middle of the aisle. There are some very clear things that we can agree on. And if you look at that letter, we're starting there. We're starting on the things that all of us should be able to agree on about our kids and about our schools and about the future of our community. And we're going to start from there. And once you start where you understand each other and where you are both committed to the same ideal, you can work out any other disagreements and differences along the way.
Okay, so you mentioned the campaign where people can go online and say that they're in, but then are the conversations, if you will, happening just online, or will there be ever group meetings?
We are starting to ramp up now. We're planning multiple events right now, and I have a few of the dates in mind, but we don't necessarily have venues and things locked down. We're looking, I think, 4 different events between now and the end of the year. And then also looking forward to 2023 and starting to plan events there where, again, we're going to be focusing on bringing teachers in first, bringing families and communities in first, bringing administrators in. And then once we've had those conversations and kind of gotten those common ground things, those themes that we can pull out that are similar between all of those conversations, then bringing all of those people back together, including elected officials, and starting again with where we agree and moving from there.
Okay, again, a conversation I had recently with somebody, and this person was having it was just a bad day. And so there were a lot of negatives in this person's day with a person in their life. And so in an effort to help, I said, okay, so you know the things that you're not liking. Can you name some things that you do like? Can you focus on the things you do like and then maybe accentuate those? Are you wanting people to maybe think about does work as well as what they'd like to see that doesn't?
We're certainly open to that, about what's working, but more about just about ideally for the future what we want.
Okay.
Where are we agreeing? This is what we have. This is the scenario we have. Again, what's working, what's not, but what do we want in the future? Where are we going in the future?
And it will be slow growing. Nothing happens
Absolutely,
quickly.
yes.
So if you're the parent of a second grader, listen carefully to what the parents of the 10th graders are saying,
That's right.
because that will be your child's benefit to
Right.
take and inherit.
And that takes us back to the state standards and the standardized testing conversation, because when all of that was starting to take place, at the time, teachers threw up the warning flags and said, if you want to develop state standards and state standardized tests, great, but we're telling you, if you do this and you're tying our evaluations to it, only what is tested is what's going to be taught. And that's where you lose the individual child.
Okay.
And at the time that teachers threw up those warning flags, we were told by communities, well, no, teachers just don't want to be held accountable. Teachers just don't want accountability. They don't want us to know what they're teaching. No, that wasn't it. We were telling you from the beginning, when you say this is the standard, this is what's going to be tested, and this is how you're going to be evaluated, well, then what are you going to teach? What are you going to focus on?
Right.
And it becomes less about the individual child and more about the standard. And so watching those things happening, as you're seeing the way your high school neighbors are preparing for ACTs and SATs and how they're having to go through EOC exams, and when you hear your child's middle schooler talking about, oh, we're still doing TCAP and 10 ready, and we've been doing that for 9 days straight, that's what's coming. And we're not seeing a regression from testing. We're only seeing testing grow. It's like with every new test, we develop 2 more tests to prepare for the test, That's where we are.
And you think that with this involvement and this beginning, we might be able to affect some change and have that not be the case?
I sure hope so, because I think there's a big disconnect between teachers and community, teachers and elected officials and teachers and community. And it's a matter of getting everyone in the room together.
It's kind of absurd in a way when you think about it, that you have this group of children that's all born in the same year. That's the one common bond they have. They were all born in whatever year.
Right.
And the expectation is that they can all travel through 12 years of school together at the same rate.
Yeah.
That's kind of absurd.
And we actually know that again, in education, you know that that's not the case. Because if you look at early childhood development through about 3rd or 4th grade, there's like a 3-year band that your child will operate in as they develop. So at the beginning of 1st grade, they might be at the upper end of that 3-year band with what the skills that they're able to do. But then going into 3rd or 4th grade, they may be at the bottom end of that band again. So the skills are kind of going to go up and down, and you're going to see development change and shift. You're going to see development accelerate and decelerate, and then kind of level out by the end of that 3-year band. So you see a lot of bumps and ridges. So to think that we can take a single snapshot of every child in April and have them all at the same place and performing at the same level is ludicrous.
And isn't the ultimate goal when they walk across that graduation stage at 18 that they emerge confident in who they are and that
prepared?
Yes, but prepared to
Yes.
be a nice member of society, not to be proficient in one subject.
Exactly. And that's where, again, where we have to bring our conversation back to the community and what the community wants. What the community wants from its school, because there are a lot of different schools of thought within public education about whether we're going to follow like the Greek system and it's more like philosophical and community-based, and we're going to be community servants and ready to be active members of our community. And then there's another school of thought that is pure academic, and it is all college preparatory, and that's all that matters is getting them into a four-year university. And then there's a third school of thought that is no, we just need them to be able to be, where's the vocational school in all of this? And there's nothing wrong with any of those 3 models.
Right.
There's absolutely nothing wrong. You could justify every single one of them. But what does the community want? And I think we've got a big disconnect in our community about what do we actually want. We aren't even sure in Hamilton County, and it's a good conversation, I'm glad we're having it, is do we want community schools? The small community-based school that everybody knows everybody and every teacher knows every student
Alpine
in the building?
Crest, yeah.
Yes. Or do we want the large schools with 1,200 and 1,500 students from a larger part of the district? There's financial reasons for the larger school. There's community and
human
belonging reasons for those smaller schools. But those smaller schools they come with a price tag.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of the situation.
So it all comes back to education. We
Yes.
as a community have to be educated
Yes.
on what
Yes.
everyone's role is if we're going to
Yes.
get anywhere.
Yes.
What a fun conversation.
Thank
I
you.
hope you'll come back.
Absolutely.
It was completely unscripted, which is my favorite thing. Thank you, Kendra.
Thank you so much.
So if you go to unifi-ed.org,
Yes.
that's how you can learn about signing up for the I'm In campaign,
Yes,
right?
yes.
There's their phone number too, but she's new to the helm, already coming in with great ideas, and the chief criteria, I'm told, of any success is to listen.
Absolutely.
And that's what you want to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
A better life begins with better sleep. Discover yours during the Mermaid Mattress Labor Day Savings